Hello, my name is Emma, and today I am going to teach you 3 easy expressions we use in everyday English. I'm going to teach you let's, I will teach you how about, and I will also teach you why don't we. So these are important expressions. I'll teach you the grammar as well as how we use them. So let's get started. The first one we're going to look at is let's. We use let's when we are making a suggestion. We are presenting a plan or idea to another person. So my first example is, let's go to the park. What does this mean? Well, let's means let us. So it means we. Let us go to the park. Let's go to the park. And it just means my suggestion is we go to the park together. Now, it's really important that you notice this little apostrophe here, because without this apostrophe, let's has a different meaning. I'll explain that in a moment. My second example is let's have lunch at 1 p.m. What does this mean? Well, it means my suggestion or my idea is we should have lunch at 1 p.m. together. So let's talk about the grammar of let's. So when we use let's, again, it means let us. It's followed by the base form of a verb. So what does that mean? Well, the verb does not have ed. It does not have ing. It does not have a conjugation. It's just the base form. So let's look at some examples. I could say, let's watch a movie. Watch is the base form of the verb to watch. I could say, let's see a show. See is the base form of the verb to see. Let's do art. Do is the base form of the verb to do. Or let's eat a piece of cake. And so again, these are all suggestions on what you want to do with another person together. So can you make a negative sentence with let's? You sure can. If you add not, you can make a negative sentence or a negative suggestion. So for example, let's not, and then you have the base of the verb. Imagine somebody says to you, hey, let's eat 30 hot dogs tonight. I don't think that's a good idea. So you might say, let's not eat 30 hot dogs together. Or maybe somebody says, hey, let's go camping tonight. If you don't like camping, you might say, let's not go camping tonight. Let's do something else instead. Maybe somebody wants to pull an all-nighter, stay up all night studying English at the library. You might say, let's not study English all night at the library. So these are some examples of how to use not. So again, it follows let's, and let's stands for let us. So let's not do this. So very important, many people make mistakes with let's. Specifically, they confuse these two words, let's and let's. You might think, oh, well, aren't these the same? They have the same pronunciation. That's true. But the difference is this apostrophe. Let's with no apostrophe means allow. So I can say, oh, my mother lets me cook turkey at Thanksgiving. Or the kid's parents let him use his iPad all the time. So it can mean allow. This is different than let's with an apostrophe, which means let us, which is what we've just talked about. It means to give a suggestion. All right, so let's now talk about how about. How about is another way to make a suggestion for a plan or idea. I can say, how about we learn English together? So this means I'm suggesting we learn English together. It's my idea or my suggestion for a plan. Here's another example. How about we watch a movie tonight? One thing I can also say about this is that sometimes in conversation, people will say, how about? So even though when we write it, it's how about, you might actually hear a native speaker say, how about? How about we learn English tonight? How about we watch a movie together? And they have the same meaning. It's just in conversation, some people might not pronounce the A. So I have here another question. Emma, how about you make a video on? So this is a great opportunity to practice how about. In the comments, you can give me a suggestion on a topic for a video. How about you make a video on, and it can be any topic, so feel free to write in the comments below using this sentence. I would love to hear your suggestions. So now let's talk about the grammar of how about. I love how about because it's easy. It's easy grammar, it's an easy expression, and we use it all the time. It's just where we put how about at the beginning of the sentence. And then we have the subject word. So remember, a subject means I, you, he, she, they, we. It could be the person's name, my sister Audra, my grandmother, the President of the United States. So the subject is a person. And then we have a verb in the simple present tense. So let's look at an example of this. So imagine, there's a party and we're trying to figure out what food do people bring. I might say, how about my sister brings dessert? So notice we have how about. My sister is the subject. We have here a verb, bring, and because it's in the simple present tense, I've added an S, so it matches my sister. It matches the subject. And then I have the word dessert. If I hide how about, you'll see my sister brings dessert. That's like its own sentence. So that's an example of this. Even if we look at the previous examples, we have how about, we, which is the subject, watch, which is the verb in the simple present tense, and then a movie tonight. Or how about you, which is the subject, and then we have the verb here, make, which is again in the simple present tense. So you might wonder, can we make a negative sentence using how about? We sure can. We can say, how about my sister doesn't come to the party tonight? How about we don't learn English today? No, I want to learn English, or I want to teach English. But yeah, you can make a negative sentence as well. You just do the exact same thing you would do in a simple present tense sentence. So you would use don't or doesn't, depending on the subject word. So we've talked about let's, we've talked about how about. The last expression we're going to learn today is why don't we? Why don't we is a nice, easy expression. It means the exact same thing as let's. So you can say, why don't we? Let's. They have almost the same meaning. So we use these words to suggest a plan or idea. So for example, I can say, why don't we hang out tomorrow? This means let's hang out tomorrow. It's a way for me to suggest an idea. Now, some students get confused because they see this word don't, and they think, oh, don't, that's negative. This must be a negative question. Well, if it makes it easier, just remember why don't we has the same meaning as let's. So you use it the same way. So don't worry about the don't. Why don't we is a way to give a suggestion. Here's another example. Why don't we go to an Iranian restaurant? So this is something I often say to my friends when we're talking about what kind of food do you want to eat tonight? What restaurant should we go to? I usually suggest Persian food. I think Persian food is delicious. So usually with my friends, I say, why don't we go to a Persian restaurant tonight? Or why don't we go to an Iranian restaurant tonight? And again, that means I'm giving the suggestion, let's do this. Let's go to a Persian restaurant tonight. So let's look at the grammar. Why don't we is at the beginning. Then we have the base form of the verb. So for example, why don't we? And then we have the verb to hang out. The base form is hang out. So why don't we hang out? Why don't we go? Go is the base form of the verb to go. Why don't we go to a Persian restaurant? Why don't we study English? Why don't we go camping? Why don't we watch a movie? So these are all examples of why don't we. Why don't we eat later today? This has the same meaning as let's eat later today. And this very similar grammar. So if you look, let's eat later today. Why don't we eat later today? The structures are the same. So we've covered let's, how about, why don't we? How about you check out www.ingvid.com and take a quiz to practice what you learned today. I have a lot more examples, and the best way to learn something is to practice and repeat. So it's a good way to practice what you learned. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of other videos on grammar, pronunciation, Canadian culture, listening, and so much more. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to write in the comments what kind of suggestion you have for me when it comes to a lesson. You can write, how about you teach a lesson on, or how about you make a video on, and you can give a topic. I can't wait to hear your suggestions on this. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.